So we're just testing what my voice sounds like because I lost the thingy-majigger. Good morning, everyone. So I am back in the, well, you know what? I need a name for this. I'm back in the neighbor's backyard, just checking on our Back to Eden modified raised bed situation. Everything's looking pretty good. Some of the plants have a little bit of yellowing, but I'm not terribly worried about that right now. It might be a little bit of transplant shock. We're gonna give them a full week and then we'll assess the situation, but let's take a look. We've got a pepper, another pepper. That is a ground cherry. Another pepper plant. It looks like we definitely have some damage on these leaves. This guy's looking really good. That's an eggplant. Another pepper plant, pepper plant. This guy's got quite a bit of yellowing on him. Me too. See what's going on there. That's another ground cherry. It's looking pretty good. Another pepper plant. This eggplant does not seem to be very happy. Not sure what's going on there. It's got some really bad leaf curl. Seems pretty moist. And we've got some squash, more squash, more squash. These are like summer squash and zucchini over here. And then we have some cucumbers. These were from some little starts that I plan on putting some seed in between them. That is a spaghetti squash. Actually, I think that's the pumpkin. I don't know. One's a pumpkin, one's a spaghetti squash, and one's a butternut squash. And then we have our row of tomatoes here. They're all looking pretty good. They're just getting established. Just need some time. So I always think that I'm gonna get more done in a week than I can actually get done. I do still have a full-time job, I have a family, all of those things, but it's been a lot of work this week. We've had a lot of fun, and I want to show you what is actually my front yard, which is where we've set up some additional growing space using containers and planted some beautiful flowers with my mom last weekend. Had a great time doing that. So let's take a look at where we're at. So this is just walking right out my front door. This amazing fire pit area that my husband built for us when we first bought the house. And in here we have some large containers that were originally, I believe, nursery pots. Somebody was getting rid of them on Facebook Marketplace last year, and so I took them up on that offer. And we freshened them up, put some paint on them, and now they are some container planters. So let's see what we have going on over here. So we have a eggplant. Eventually we will have a blueberry bush in here. This is a yellow pear tomato. This is a Brad's Atomic grape. Over here we have another eggplant. There will be another blueberry bush in there. This is gonna be cucumbers, and that is a cherry tomato. This is a weed, but it is beautiful, and I don't have anything else growing there, so we let it live its best life. So we still have a few herbs and things that need to go into the garden, and those are our blueberry bushes there. Sunscreen, always sunscreen. Some more pretty plants. This little guy's just starting to open up. This one is so beautiful when it's fully open. It's early in the morning, so when it gets its full sunrise, it'll open up. Still have more tomatoes to put in. Some of those are gonna go into a patio garden that I'm setting up for my friend Justine. These guys are kind of test plants that are in small containers that I collected from a neighbor that had bought potted tomatoes in them. And I'm just gonna see if they will grow and produce fruit in that little amount of soil. I have seen it done before, I just haven't done it here. some additional flowers and peppers that need to go into the garden. These were some kind of failed tomato starts. I honestly forgot about them. They're mortgage lifter variety, and I've never had great luck with them. So I think what we're actually gonna do is we're gonna place them in the flower bed in the back garden and just see if they take off, and if they don't, it won't matter. It'll be fine. This really kind of made me giggle. My mom really wanted to get this plant. It's a flowering kale variety. You can eat them, they're edible, but they're bred to just be pretty. Looks like that soil's been washed out a little bit, but I guess they're a little bit bitter, but it is really pretty. So my mom and I spent a bunch of time together last weekend getting some flowers planted and sprucing up houseplants that I overwintered. And I think everything's looking beautiful. This guy was all rusted and yucky looking, and Hogan, my husband, went out and spray painted it for me. So it's got a new little lease on life. Okay, so more of our new container garden area. We actually built these risers out of some repurposed lumber, and I painted them with some free paint. Again, I love collecting stuff off of Facebook Marketplace. These are some mustard plants that are actually already going to seed, but that's okay. They're really pretty and the plants were cheap. These were grown from seed. These are kale. I believe this was supposed to be a bok choy, but you'll see it's going to seed, so I'll probably replace those. Some more lettuce, little chard plants, more lettuce. This is a black seeded Simpson lettuce. And then a couple of chard plants that I dug up from the back garden to make room to put in more tomato. Okay, so eventually these will all have tomatoes in them. We've got some little strawberries going in those containers. Looking good, more tomatoes. Nothing in these yet. And we'll have another tomato there. And just another cute little container. This little guy is really beautiful. I love touching this one. It's like, my husband calls it a juicy plant. It's some sort of succulent, but it's really pretty. Okay, so that's it for the front container garden as it stands today. Let's go take a look at the back. Okay, so we've had a lot of activity in the garden this week. I got this all leveled out. The asparagus beans are planted in there. I couldn't find my ornamental gourd seeds. I must have run out of them last year, so we decided to take a risk and we went ahead and planted some extra squash starts that I had. One of those is spaghetti, and one of them is butternut. Hopefully we can get them trellised all the way up this, and that'll be a fun experiment for this year. Garlic and onions are still doing really well. Yes, I still haven't cut back this parsley. I think we've decided we are just gonna let it fully flower. Still need to collect oregano out of there, but we've got some new plants in here. There are 3 okra back there. I was talking to my friend Casey online this past week about how I just don't have any luck with okra here, and I think most of it's because we don't get hot as soon as the Midwest and the South, and the humidity is really low, and those are 2 things that okra love. But I saw those starts. They were the last ones at a local garden center, so I put them in the bed that gets the most sun, and I'm just gonna hope for the best. So we just got lots of peppers in here. I put in some more cilantro starts, and they're all looking pretty great. Over here, we did get that chard ripped out. Now we have tomatoes, more basil planted. There are actually 9. There are actually 9 tomato plants back there. I got a little too close to the ground. I wasn't thinking about my spacing, so may have to dig up a couple of those to make space, but right now they're looking really good. Peas are finally starting to climb. It did not do great this year, but that's okay. Always next year. Got some more tomatoes in there. These are actually speckled Roma tomatoes, and then that's a brandy wine and a black vernissage. More peas coming up, and I actually planted these little purple basils. They are really struggling, but we'll see. Hopefully they do okay. So I did get my row of cucumber seeds in here, so hopefully they'll be popping up. Those were a couple of starts that I had going. And then we've got some squash. And then all these areas where you see like a little row of mulch is actually bush beans that have been planted. So what I did is I wetted the soil, I set the beans down, I put a board on top, and then I piled the mulch on, watered it again, and then pulled the board back. So it just kind of created a little trough. That was mostly to help me mark where I was planting the beans because I knew that I didn't have time to finish mulching everything. So it worked pretty well. Got some more basil in there, more tomatoes. These are all bush tomatoes, so hopefully they won't require too much staking. Then over here, we've got some more tomatoes. These will all be single stemmed and they will climb all the way up this trellis. Ground cherries are looking really good. There's some more of that purple basil. More tomatoes. This is a calendula flower that I grew from seed and transplanted, and it's finally taking off. Beets are looking really good over there. Got one red Russian kale, some more lettuce I need to harvest. I've actually pulled 3 harvests now off of these lettuce plants, and I think 4 off of those, and they're looking really good. Onions are coming along. I did not get good germination off of the row of carrots that we planted. I think there's like 1. I don't know. I'm just not very good at growing carrots. I'm gonna try some in the containers and we'll see what happens. That's a baby butternut squash. These are sugar baby watermelons. And then we have tomatillos over here. These are all peppers, all planted a foot apart because peppers like to hold hands. And then we have more tomatoes. And yes, again, in all these little troughs, there are bush beans. So those will come up, and as they come up and mature, those tomatoes will already be growing up tall. I'll harvest the beans and then cut the plants and leave the roots in the ground not to disturb the tomatoes. And that will help eventually with the nitrogen in the soil. Not right away because it has to actually break down, but got the flower bed cleaned out yesterday. Got some wildflowers that are coming in really nicely. These guys just started opening up. They're really pretty. I'm gonna spread some more seed down and put some more transplants in there. And then, like I said, those rogue tomatoes that just didn't do well. So in my first garden tour, I talked about these iris plants that they were donated to us. And I was just pretty sure that I wasn't gonna get any blooms off of them. Look at that. I am so excited. And it looks like there's actually quite a few more that are gonna be coming up. Did a little bit more work on the path this last Sunday. Built another little step in, and I think what I'm gonna do is build one more step down across these little blocks are all along our driveway. So repurpose those, build one more step down, and then down here I'm actually gonna take that pot out and I'm gonna plant some Elysium in there and just let it take over. So that's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed walking around my garden with me. You know, I've really fallen into that trap lately of, I'm sorry I didn't get this done, I'm sorry I didn't get that done, and then I sit back and I realize that we did double our growing space this year. It's not all planted, and it's okay. It's going to get planted. We just started hitting over 50-degree nights, I think on Tuesday this week, which is when I started putting tomatoes and planting the garden behind me. So I just want to encourage you that if you feel like you don't have time left, it's too late to plant something, if you've got the space, go for it. Get it in the ground. If you're off by a week or two, it's gonna be okay. I think it's better to grow something than to grow nothing at all, and to just try new things. Not everything works out the way that you think it will. I have different successes and different failures every year, but I just don't let myself get discouraged, because what's the point of doing anything if the fear of failure stops you from even trying. So yeah, I just want to encourage you to go out there and try to grow something for yourself. And even if it doesn't work out, it will be okay. I hope that you'll consider subscribing, and please comment down below. Tell me what you're doing, what you're excited about for this growing season, what your fears are, what your questions are. I'll try to get them answered. Thanks for watching and enjoying the experience of life with me.